All right, well, thank you very much for the opportunities to share with you some of my thoughts. Where is geography in GeoAI? I'm a GIS faculty at the University of Texas at Dallas. So I teach GIS and some element of AI in my courses this semester. And I also have the privilege to become an editor-in-chief of the International Journal of Geographic Information Science. In the last 12 months, we have about 2,000 submissions to the journal. Over 90% of the submissions are GeoAI related. So I pretty much learned my GeoAI through manuscript review and then keep myself up to date. Let me see, can I flash forward? And so before we need to know where is geography in GeoAI, we need to know what geography is. And we know that that's million-dollar questions, and we can be here all day to talk about what geography is. This one here? Okay. And I hope that, I think the best way is to ask the father of geography, Eratosthenes. And I don't know whether I can get, can I run the videos? Oh.
You ask what geography is. To me, it is the art of measuring the earth, but also the poetry of seeing how all things fit upon it. It begins with observation of...
Well, it's very beautiful, but my free subscriptions only give us so much. And the art of measuring the earth, but also the poetry of seeing how all things fit upon it, I think it's beautiful. And so we just subscribe this to a very general description of what geography is, to really begin with observations and how we look at GeoAI really embrace geography. And before we do that, we need to know what is artificial intelligence and how that different from machine learning. And in 1950, John McCarthy, he is a math professor at that time, he called a workshop to have all the key AI computer science people to talk about what is artificial intelligence. So in that workshop in the Dartmouth College, they planned out the whole research agenda. They locked themselves in a third floor of the math department for a month to figure out the pathway of what AI research involved. And 3 years later, Martha Samuel, he think, wow, the grand meal of artificial intelligence is too grand. Let's focus on machine learning, just see how we can ingest to allow machine to learn about like just human learning, not necessarily intelligent. In this case, they learn how to play a checker game. And in geography, we have a long history of embracing AI. From the very beginning, the start of a GIS, Canadian GIS, and Harvard Graphic Laboratory, and throughout all the satellite, Landsat, and GPS released to civilian use. And in 1983, Dr. Jerome Dobson already advocated for automated geography. And that was, I think that he already had the vision that how AI can enhance geographical thinking, knowledge creation. And in 1986, Dr. Helen Kukelis already published a paper, AI in Geography. And these are during the second AI winter, for the sake of the timing here. And geographers are already very forward-looking at that time, despite the AI winter. And with the generous support from National Science Foundation, we have the NCGIA, National Center of Geographic Information Analysis, under the leadership of Dr. Michael Goodchild. And a lot of workshops at that time to talk about cognition, representation, computation, and ontology. And those are all the foundations that are necessary for the modern GeoAI development. And as you can see, the pathways, let's see, do I have a pointer? The pathway is really, too weak. The pathway is running this way. It's this long snake of dragons through it. So in 2017, Professor Christopher Janowitz at UC Santa Barbara Geography Department and his students all together to start a GeoAI workshop in American Computing Machine. That's the first time that GeoAI was coined and quickly gained popularity. And then very soon they look at how we can incorporate spatially explicit knowledge to help GeoAI learn about geography. Then lately, we have a lot of ChatGPT we know, but we also have GeoGPT, MathGPT, Large Language Model, and GIS Copilot. And currently, a lot of submissions to IJGIS is talking about geo question and answering systems and GIS agent, how to build agents to help accomplish geospatial project planning and task completion, and eventually want to build an autonomous GIS in a way that we can automate all the tedious process in the background. But this, as you can see, the very end is very much engineering-centered to try to build the solutions for implemented GeoAI technology. But I'm more interested in the GeoAI, the three basic components, the input features, the algorithms that how machine can learn, and then prediction output. Where in the process that we actually have geography embedded in it? And we know that a lot of GeoAI output are mapped to show, to identify geographical features, buildings, to look at how the landscape patterns change over time, to look at how the human perceptions of urban and different geographical landscape. So in the output, we're sure that we have a lot of geography embedded in it. But how about the input? And I showed this example is that this is a work with an archaeologist. They want to know what is buried underground, so they have a ground penetration radar and do a lot of field surveys to be able to produce that map that to look at human settlement in the past. And we fly UAVs, and we can just use the UAV photos to build the AI model, try to predict the actual locations and then compare with our predictions with the actual survey data. But if we just use any kind of image input, it won't be sufficient. So we have to think about what is the geography and what are the geographical features can help us to build that model. So we choose to use these three images that work through to get a better result, and then we get 95% accuracy. And then in the architecture itself, we use convolutional neural network, and with the UNet architecture, how the geography is embedded in it, because we think that to identify the features, we have to zoom into local detail to focus on the scaling concept and to downscale, find the individual features, and then from the upscaling process to assemble those features to identify geographical objects. And that has been shown quite successful, applying the scale concept in geography. And then this we see that in the intermediate output, how the downscaling take place and how the upscaling operate. And then, in addition to looking at final feature, and nowadays that we try to embed geography in location. Traditionally, we use longitude and latitude and any kind of coordinate to encode location. But with GeoAI, we really try to look at, for every given location, what are the surrounding proximity in terms of feature characteristics, and use that as to represent location. We call that embedded geography in location encoding. So we don't use longitude and latitude or any geographic coordinate system, rather than use the surrounding characteristics to encode the locations across the surface of the Earth. And just this year, Google released the Alpha Earth. Is very much aligned to this particular idea, to embed geography in the location encoding and to build a generative AI model. And this location encoding is every 10 meter by 10 meter square of the surface of the Earth. They ingest all the satellite imageries and geospatial data, climate observation and climate simulation output, crowdsourced data to train AI model, and then to derive every locations with 64 dimension of vector per location across the surface of the Earth. And then each location have, each vector represent a year, so from 2017 to 2024, and each location will have 24 and 7 vectors, 8 vectors. So to understand how a location might have changed from one year to another, we just measure, calculate the differences in the vector space to know that some locations have changed quite a bit, some location is pretty much stay the same from year to year. And Jason Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, he indicated that our AI development from perceptual AI to generative AI, agentic AI, and eventually want to be a physical AI. And then my research about the archaeology site mapping is very much in the perceptual AI because we just use the observation data to design a model made that prediction. We all know that now we are in the generative AI stage. We all know about large language model. And generative AI, he ingests tokens and produce tokens. If the token is word, then he produce word. If the token is pixel, he produce pixel. And the what magic thing is that it continues to produce generative words, generative pixels, and now allow us to assemble those words, become a text, assemble those pixels to become an image. And for using GeoAI, the input token will be geography. So what will be the geography token? And then when he generate geography token, and how we based on the geography token to assemble geographical landscape, geographical systems. And then once we have that geography token, then we can looking at how we design AI agents that to be able to, based on the tokens and generate plan and execute actions. And here, they say who, what, where, when, and how, is that for every agent, it has to know who he's working for and what it's going to accomplish so that he can, where it is and when it is. So when and where provide the context necessary for the agents to plan for the action plan and execute it to know how to achieve the goal. So both genetic AI and physical AI very much need the geography to embed it in it if we really want to develop a GeoAI for agentic and physical AI. And psychologists look at ChatGPT. They test that ChatGPT actually passed the tuning test and personality test. In other words, that we cannot differentiate, are we play against a bot, chatbot, or play against human beings. And very interesting, and the very last point is that when ChatGPT, they choose less common human behavior, and they are often more cooperative and altruistic. And when I read this paper, I wonder, what does that say about human intelligence? And does the large language model really understand the world? And recently, there is a new development in Silicon Valley. Fei Li, she is a professor at Stanford University and one of the leaders in computer vision. And she starting a company, World Lab, and try to build a large world model. So now we have a large language model. We are shifting to large world model. And she's a computer scientist, and her team are most computer scientists. So when I read about her paper, I keep wondering that without geographer, how could you embed geography into the large world model? Without geography, how can a large world model actually implement it? Google also implemented a large world model, and they just released that this year. And August is very new and very fun to play with. But again, there is no geography. They are just virtual physical world that can record human experiences. And the good news is that even though ChatGPT passed the tuning test of human personality and human behavior, but they fail spatial intelligence test. And in other words, that we still have hope. The world still needs geographers to ingest geography and spatial thinking, spatial intelligence into AI algorithms. And there are a lot of papers to talk about. There are geographical biases in large language model, and some even more provocative say it's global liars. And those large language models, they cannot judge spatial relationship. They cannot make spatial reasoning. And finally, I think that it is a great time for GeoAI development. Geography is everywhere, but we need to be more intentional and validate the geography in our GeoAI model. And much research now is in GeoAI agents, and autonomous GIS is very engineering focused, but I think that we need to think about how to embed geographies in the overall design from the input algorithm to output. And machines are learning quite a bit, but I think that we invested a lot in machine learning. We didn't invest enough in human learning, and this is a lot of us educators need to think about it. And a lot of AI native now working with AI, and it will be good if we use that to augment human cognitive ability. A lot of times that we really just lower our cognitive demand to the AI machine, so we actually descale our cognitive ability. And I think that's something that geographers need to pay attention to. I do have a research that currently ongoing to look at how GPS might have impact on humans' spatial cognitive function. Thank you.